What's up, Internet? It's Merry Christmas Day. It's also Wonder Woman Day. 1984 just came out in theaters and at home. We watch on the couch we're currently in. My name's David Webb.
And I'm Arielle Edwards.
We get nerdy nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you.
Welcome back to the couch. We usually do our morning show here.
Yep.
But today, y'all, it is a brand new world because we watched the latest DCEU. That's the DC Extended Universe film. Wonder Woman 1984 from our couch, which felt weird.
Yeah, it was very weird. Being, especially with the hype that's been around this movie. Like, the day that it drops, to be able to watch it from the comfort of your home, pause it for bathroom breaks, talk through parts of it. Like, it's a totally different experience than going to the theaters.
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect. We talked through a lot of this movie in a way that if we'd seen it in theaters, we would not have done.
No, we would have just, given each other looks instead.
This film is releasing in the United States and Canada today, but it has previously released in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
Notably, it had a slightly disappointing release in China, and we'll talk about that later in this review, I'm sure. But it did release on HBO Max in the United States, which was a concern for us when we first heard that, because we are in Canada, and we thought that we wouldn't be able to see it because theaters are obviously in lockdown right now in the province of Ontario, where we are. And so we found out actually today that we were going to be able to rent it premium video on demand for $30, the same price that you complained about for Mulan way back when that movie was coming out.
Yeah.
And so we watched it through the Cineplex website.
Yes.
Which was nice for me because I used to work for Cineplex. I worked for them for a few years when I was in high school. And so being able to give that company a little bit of my money actually felt kind of good. Yeah. Knowing they're going through a tough time the same way that we all are.
Yep. Yeah. Any little bit that we can do to help, I think it just makes you feel a little better. It's Christmas. It's about giving.
This is the non-spoiler review of Wonder Woman. It's probably going up on YouTube at the same time as a spoiler review, so I hope you clicked into the right one. If you haven't seen the movie yet, this is the one for you. We're going to be talking about our thoughts, our feelings, but no spoilers, no details, no story things, other than talking about stuff that is in the trailers.
Yes, if it's in the trailer, we say it's fair game.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be talking about the fact that Chris Pine returned for this film as Steve Trevor, and is a big one of the pros of the film. I would say so. Actually, definitely a highlight to see him again in this role. A very similar role to the first. I mean,
movie.
It's the same role.
I mean, his purpose was very similar.
His purpose was very similar. He really is the grounding rod for Wonder Woman.
Yep.
And in that, Gal Gadot's performance as Wonder Woman is best in scenes with him. She shines much brighter with him than maybe she does with other people in this film. I think that's fair to say.
I would say that's fair.
And part of that is a story choice they've made about Diana, the character.
Yes.
She's kind of a detached person throughout a lot of this film, and that makes her a little hard to get into. She is the protagonist of the film, but she's kind of the least interesting character.
I would actually say that is 100% accurate.
The cast of this movie is rounded out primarily by 4 people. It's Gal Gadot and Chris Pine as Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, respectively. And then you get Maxwell Lord in there, played by Pedro Pascal, and Kristen Wiig Kristen Wiig plays Barbara, Cheetah, for those of you who know her as Wonder Woman's arch nemesis from the comics. And those two really steal the film for me. They were the much stronger parts of the film, the much more interesting parts of the film.
Absolutely.
And their characters had a lot more arc. And particularly Maxwell Lord. Even Cheetah.
No, definitely Pedro Pascal's character was the most interesting and probably, I think, the best part of the film overall.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that, 100%. Yeah. His performance, too. Pedro Pascal's performance in this movie is...
His performance in it, his story and character arc, he kind of stole the show, in a sense.
Having said that, I think it is fair to say that neither of us liked the movie.
That, yeah.
I'm kind of shocked. I was shocked sitting there realizing that, I don't like this.
Yeah. See, I'm used to being disappointed. I don't know.
You are the harsher person. People sometimes rag on me for liking everything. And the truth is, like, I can usually find things I like in everything. And there's things in this movie that I really like.
Yeah.
There are sequences in this movie that I really like. But as a whole, I've got to say, this didn't make a lot of sense.
No, like, it was bad.
The world logic that they set up, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it kind of became hard to watch.
It did, after a point. So, we've been talking about this movie for months now.
Because it was supposed to come out in March.
It was supposed to come out in March, and we've been talking about it a lot on the morning show because, it's been pushed back, and then finally it's being released on HBO Max, and here's the date, and we were very excited. We're like, great, we're going to be able to watch Wonder Woman on Christmas, and then we're like, oh shoot, I don't think we're going to be able to see it. We're in lockdown. We don't have HBO Max, and then this morning we find out we're able to see it. It's Christmas. We can watch the movie that we've been waiting for months, and we were both so excited. We were looking forward to it all day.
The way that I would have dressed up for the theater. Like, I've got my Superman hat on, my Wonder Woman shirt. Like, I was like, I'm going to treat this like we're going to the theater. Yeah. It's opening night at the theater. I'm going to have that same excitement going in. Yeah. And I think I did. Like, I tried to.
Yeah, I was genuinely excited. We had talked about how we had seen teasers and trailers for the movie that we didn't love. And that carried through the rest of the film in a way that was disappointing. The things that we didn't like about those scenes and teasers and trailers were very telling to how the entire movie was as a whole.
There's a moment, if you go back and watch the... we did a reaction to the opening scene that they released online.
Yes.
If you watch that, there's a moment where I'm like, what sport are the women doing? Like, it shows this, like, huge arena. It's the opening scene of the movie, and there's all these Amazonians doing acrobatics.
Yes.
And when I watched it the first time, I was like, what are they doing? And then when I watched the extended version of this, I also went, what is happening?
We thought we were watching Cirque du Soleil for a bit.
Truly. Partially because there is that one, like, spinny thing that the women are on either side of that is actually a Cirque du Soleil.
And the trapeze stuff.
Yeah. And the problem is that, like, feeling of, like, why is this happening kind of persisted through the movie for me.
Yes.
And there are characters who make decisions that you're just kind of like, for what purpose? From that character's perspective, does this satisfy? And I don't... you can have confusing things happen in a movie. It's fine, as long as the movie manages to explain them, right? And sometimes it is fun to leave the audience in limbo as to why things are happening until later in order to satisfy that curiosity at the end thematically and tie that little mystery in a bow. This movie doesn't do that at all. No. It just kind of is like, we're just going to we're on cruise control and things are going to happen. And we're going to talk about them in the spoiler review because there are like two things in this movie that genuinely
don't make sense.
And that are
shockingly.
So bafflingly confusing because they don't exist in the real world.
Yeah.
There's a moment, it reminded me of The Dark Knight Rises. Yes. There's a moment in The Dark Knight Rises where they steal Bruce Wayne's fingerprints. Sorry, this is kind of a spoiler for Dark Knight Rises, but that movie's like 10 years old and it's also not good. Sorry. The first two Chris Nolan movies, perfection. The third one, it doesn't make sense. They steal Bruce Wayne's fingerprints, and then they go to the stock market, and somehow, at the stock market, using Bruce Wayne's fingerprints, they steal all of his money? And...
questionable.
It is the dumb... Like, I literally watched... I remember being in the theater the first time, and I was so stoked. Like, I was one of those people who lined up to watch the opening 9 minutes in IMAX months before. Like, I was so stoked with this movie. And I turned to my friend, and I was like, that's not how, money works.
I'm sorry, the bank just had billions?
No, the stock market. Here's the problem. Yeah. It wasn't even the bank. It was the stock market. The stock market, surprise, folks, the stock market doesn't keep your money in it.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
That's like taking all my money to the grocery store, or my fingerprints to the grocery store, and giving it to a clerk at the grocery store, and that guy being like, all right, well, you have all of his money now. And I don't get like a call from the fraud department being like, hey, Mr. Wayne, your fingerprints were used at the stock market. To
withdraw all that you have.
It's the dumbest.
All of it. It's... Wrapping it back around
You don't even own your house anymore. I'm sorry.
Wrapping it back to Wonder Woman 84, which is what we're reviewing.
Well, but the point I'm making is that, like, this movie had things in it that were like that.
Yes, there were definitely moments in that where you're like... Because here's the thing. You know, you can ask the audience sometimes to suspend their disbelief for certain things. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I understand this is how the movie works.
100%.
These things went a bit too far. To ask that.
Yeah. And it's hard. It
makes sense.
This is probably confusing to listen to because we're trying not to spoil specific things about the film.
Yes, so if you want to know what we're talking about, you can watch our spoiler review.
I promise we're going to get into them there. But it really is unfortunate because we were both saying that there were themes, especially the themes of this movie, had so much potential.
Yes.
Like, they're set up well.
Yes, they are. That's. I wanted to like it. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to like it. Yeah. There were things that I was very excited about, and then it just was very disappointing.
Yeah, and to top it all off, the action doesn't work for me.
No,
it's shot in a way that doesn't. It's just shot in a way that it kind of looks like it was shot in the 80s. And, like, I get that the movie takes place in the 80s, but that it just doesn't mean that the action has to live in the 80s, too. And it was unfortunate at times. There are moments where Gal Gadot doesn't look good, and that's a hard thing to do. Like, she's one of the most attractive humans on the planet. And there's one moment where she is hunched against a wall, and it's just... It goes on for way too long, and she's in it's an awkward position.
Yeah, it's weird to look at.
It's weird to look at, and it just didn't make sense.
And there were a few CGI moments also that just didn't.
There's one CGI moment where Wonder Woman is running and I love the Flash TV show, but it looked worse than the Flash TV show does at times, and I was shocked. Like, I grabbed Ariella, I was like, that looks so bad.
Yeah, which, it's. Definitely, the action I don't think worked. I think it ended up being cheesy. Mm-hmm. And I think it did a disservice because it was just another thing that was kind of like, Whereas if the action had been a little more enjoyable to watch, I might have, like, given the movie, like, a 3 out of 5.
And if there had been more of it, honestly, this movie, for a Wonder Woman movie, not a lot happens.
No.
You know what? I will say, I just because credit where credit is due, Kristen Wiig performed admirably in the action sequences. I bought Kristen Wiig in the action sequences that she had.
Yes.
That were very clearly her doing the fighting. Particularly one fight against Gal Gadot where they are doing hand-to-hand combat. Kristen Wiig performed really, really well in those sequences.
Yeah. She had a lot of standout moments like that. Yeah. There were a few moments I thought that weren't amazing. But, like, overall, I would say, like, good, and the actions, like, her action stuff was pretty spot on.
I did read something going into the movie saying that part of the reason why people thought maybe the movie didn't succeed in China was because there wasn't a lot of action, and it's a very talky comic book movie. There's a lot of talking about ideas, and there is an element of that sometimes doesn't translate to international markets. And so I kind of agree with that review. I understand why, if you aren't interested in what's being said, and it was in my language and I wasn't interested a lot of the time, because they were repeating themselves.
Yeah.
I do understand. I actually kind of get it. I understand why maybe this didn't succeed necessarily overseas.
Yeah, me too.
Having said that, there is some really good humor in the movie. There were moments where the jokes really landed for me. There were also some moments where I think they were trying to be funny and it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely, like, hit or miss. Mm-hmm. Like, it was either a bullseye or it was, like, you are 20 yards off. Mm-hmm.
Gal Gadot does get the best joke, though. Yeah. There's one joke, like, right in the middle of the movie that is pure. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's and it's not even that funny a line. It's just that her timing on her delivery is so good that I wanted them to pause the movie so that I could finish laughing, so that the movie could go on. I was like, no, you guys need to intermission. Yeah. You got me.
I need a second for that.
That was laser precision.
Yeah, that was very good.
All right, this has been 15 minutes of us maybe not loving this movie. So, do you recommend it?
No.
Yeah. If you're a superhero completionist like I am, I think I'm pretty in the bag for this stuff. I'm an easy audience for this stuff. Yeah. I like literally everything. So if you're a completionist like me, wait till you can watch it for free. If you can watch it in HBO Max in the States, yeah, do that. Honestly,
go for that. Or if you are kind of upset that HBO or that Warner Brothers is just putting all their movies on HBO Max, maybe don't support that if you feel like it.
Hey, that's also fair. Y'all,
'cause it's 2.5 hours of your time.
Come back to the channel, check out the spoiler review, which should be going up tonight as well. Also, if you like the channel, if you like our content, we're usually not this pessimistic. And subscribe.
You're not.
That's not true. We have yet to review a movie for Nerdy Nightly together that we both liked, that either of us liked. Because New Mutants and Tenet, we both kind of gave wishy-washy reviews.
That's true. Well. We are going to watch Soul tomorrow and review that, so hopefully that changes the 2020 trend.
Subscribe to the channel so you can come back for our Soul review tomorrow. And come check us out on Twitch. We have a morning show Monday through Friday where we talk about nerd news and internet business shenanigans. That's at twitch.tv/nerdynightly, 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. I also stream video games on the Nerdy Nightly, and you stream video games over on twitch.tv/
Clarus Dracaris.
Clarus! As we always say, my name's David Webb.
I'm Arielle Edwards.
Do something nerdy tonight. Bye-bye.
Bye.